So this is my bathroom. It's where I take shits. It's also where we're filming Everything Wrong with United Airlines. Coincidence? I don't know. Some of you may remember the beloved yet short-lived ABC TV show Pan Am. While the series was canceled in 2012, the real-life Pan American World Airways was mostly dissolved by United Airlines in 1985. Who knows? If it wasn't for them, you may have had a few more seasons of Margot Robbie in uniform. They had to file for bankruptcy in 2002. Instead of just cutting their losses and shutting down, they did a few other things. One being they furloughed or temporarily fired thousands of employees. Now, if I'm gonna be honest, the thing I'm most angry about here is that they used the word furlough. I had to look this up. It was embarrassing. Hey United, fuck you for not just firing them and making me look like a pleb. Anyway, they cut the pay of the employees they did keep around, shorting their suppliers and contractors along the way. They also closed every ticketing office in the US.
You're fired.
Which just put more people out of work. After that, they closed all of their maintenance bases, which seems a bit counterintuitive. Would you be more likely to fly on a plane that was less likely to have been serviced recently? No, you would not. Well, unless they offered you cheap flights, then of course you would. In 2005, they made massive cuts to employees' pension plans, likely forcing them to get a job on the side stripping to make up the difference. In 2010, United Airlines merged with Continental Airlines to form United Airlines, a name that is just as uncreative as it is inclusive of the other company. Clearly, this was a big win for United in the branding department, but Continental wasn't just going to merge without a fight, forcing United to take on Continental's logos, uniforms, and CEO. So what, you may ask, remained of United after the merger? Well, pretty much nothing. They didn't really even get to keep the name. The airline would still be called United, but the UAL Corporation, United Airlines, changed over to United Continental Holdings. Let's see, what's a good metaphor to help you marriage. It was kind of like marriage. Now, it's not like United had the best logo before the merger, but at least the tulip was cute, it was recognizable, and it was a good logo. Unfortunately, after the merger, United's logo became something akin to the PNG that news stations use in their segment intros. For the majority of their time as United Airlines, the company used the slogan. This year, they decided to show everyone just how friendly they were on the ground. This is a doctor who was pulled off the plane involuntarily after United Airlines accidentally overbooked a flight. What? They weren't actually overbooked, they just needed some room for employees who needed to be in Kentucky the next day? Interesting. If these employees hadn't made it to Kentucky, it probably would have resulted in the delay or cancellation of other flights on the airline, thus inconveniencing hundreds of people rather than the 4 that were removed from this flight. But there had to be a better solution to this problem than dragging a doctor out of his seat and knocking him unconscious. I'd now like to take a moment to propose some ideas for how the situation could have been solved. And I will sin United for each one of these ideas because I am a YouTube personality and they are a multi-billion-dollar airline. Number 1, they could have said, oh, well, this person is a doctor and people's health might be put in jeopardy if he misses his flight. His aversion to leaving is understandable and justified. Let's select someone else to pull off the flight. They'll understand. Number 2, they could have used their special airline frisking powers to grasp him firmly so he would not be injured. Number 3, they could have used a Jedi mind trick. Number 4, they could have employed Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to sit next to him on the plane, forcing him to leave. No one wants to be stuck between The Rock and a hard place. And number 5, they could have just said fuck it while grabbing a beer from the galley and fleeing on the plane's emergency exit slide like the folks at JetBlue. Now, obviously this situation was mishandled, but fortunately the CEO made a statement to apologize. Sort of. Here is an excerpt. Our employees followed established procedures for dealing with situations like this. Our agents were left with no choice but to call Chicago aviation security officers to assist in removing the customer from the flight. He repeatedly declined to leave. Now, I know I've already done the whole glare at the camera thing several times in this episode already, but really, that's the best you could do? Now, this is not the only controversy stirred up by United Airlines in the last year or so. In March of 2017, 2 young girls were barred from boarding because they were wearing leggings. Now, they were past travelers or people who get to ride for free because of a relative or something, and they were apparently breaking United's dress code. I'm gonna add a sin right here because nobody lets me fly for free. When it comes to inappropriate behavior in the sky, United takes the cake, thanks to a female pilot who had a meltdown over the loudspeaker in 2017.
Okay, if you don't feel safe, get off the airplane.
She started talking about her divorce, political candidates, her cute little uniform.
Would you prefer that I take 10 minutes to get changed into my cute little uniform?
Oh yeah, and she insulted a mixed race couple.
Did I offend you? Okay, so did I purposely offend you?
And then double checked to make sure they knew that she meant it.
I did. The answer is yes.
She then spent several minutes trying to convince the passengers she was okay to fly the plane. Kinda like your buddy Steve did when he was behind the wheel after shotgunning 4 beers by the campfire senior year. Police had to forcibly remove her from the plane, but curiously, everyone was okay with it that time. Maybe it was because she was a woman? Or maybe because she works for the airline and was a danger to the passengers on the plane.
Don't worry, I'm gonna let my co-pilot fly it. He's a man. Okay?
It was because she was a woman. At the very least, that incident might explain why United passengers have been drinking 300% more wine than they used to. Now, let's not forget about the rash of breastfeeding incidents United has experienced over the last several years. In 2015, a flight attendant threw a blanket at a new father and told him to help his wife out by covering her up while she was breastfeeding. This is outrageous because she is a strong, independent woman who didn't need a man to cover up her breast. She could do it herself. There was also a time when a woman was told to go breastfeed in the pet relief area. It came with a fire hydrant and everything. How accommodating. Speaking of pets and accommodation, in February of 2016, the airline was accused of being responsible for the death of a healthy 7-year-old golden retriever. His owner's mother was assured he'd be able to fit on both planes involved in the 2-leg journey, but ended up staying on his own for over 20 hours after he didn't fit on the second plane. And then, almost as soon as he got home, the dog died from an illness caused by extreme stress. So yeah, don't fly with your dog. I mean, unless your dog is underdog, then go ahead. And finally, dogs aren't the only animals that have a rocky relationship with United Airlines. You see, United was the last airline to stop transporting monkeys to be used in labs. In 2013. I know what you're thinking. Wait, isn't that 2 whole years after Rise of the Planet of the Apes came out? Yeah, it is. So if apes take over the planet, it's not necessarily United's fault. But we'll be thinking about that time they mugged a doctor when we should be worrying about ending the oppressive rule of the apes who enslaved us. So I was just editing this episode when the news came out that the bunny that was set to be the world's largest bunny just died. Can you guess where he died? On a United flight.